The mainstream media is not telling you the truth. They have their own agenda. At GJRB, I have mine, telling you what's really going on with sources like End Time Headlines, InfoWars, Coast to Coast AM, and most importantly, CBN News, keeping you on top of what's happening at the top and bottom of each hour during the Gary Russen program. I'll give you the news and analysis of what I think with Gary J's News and Comment. Get the real news, true news, news that's not in the mainstream on GJRB.
Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radio Land. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between, like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radio Land.
We all run a busy schedule, and maybe we don't have time to catch the Gary Russen program. Well, here's the solution. The best of the Gary Russen program, highlighting the most memorable parts of recent shows. Each podcast I will play clips of previous shows and talk about them. Watch for podcast uploads during the GJRB's podcast weekend on GJRB's public site on Spreaker, reflecting on the past memories of past shows. The best of the Gary Russen program on GJRB.
After 1 year, the wait is over. Now join Pastor Ron Johnston and a panel of men and women to discuss the news and how it lines up with Bible prophecy. In this world of chaos and upheaval, this is the program that puts it all into perspective. How will we survive? God only knows. So trust Him and listen to the last 7 days.
Uploaded as a podcast or live
Every third Friday at 12 o'clock noon Central
on GJRB Online. The weird, the strange, the bizarre. Way out fun, way out there. Another show coming soon on GJRB Online.
Yeah, I know I'm running that music to the ground, but that's our new theme of the Gary Russen program, starting today. Just kind of neat music. Kind of thought I was getting kind of tired of the old one, you know. More up and coming here is kind of music here, you know what I mean? Just kind of maybe see if it'll get me a better audience than that old music I was using, you know. I just think maybe it'll be better. And this is the gun lamp moment, the last bit of the Gary Russen program extra for today here on GJRB Online. And this is going to wrap it up for our show. This is just a preview of what we got coming up on Monday when we do our full-length Gary Russen program live, 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock East, noon Pacific, on GJRB, and I've got some pretty good stuff we're going to be talking about, including DACA. We're going to talk about there. I'm going to keep an eye on the news, and coming up this next half hour, we'll do one more weather on the fives. We haven't done one in a while. I want to keep track of that hurricane. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take a look at it now once again, and I will post this on my Pinterest page so that people can follow this hurricane. Right now, looking at it, Hurricane Irma is strengthening into a Category 5 as it bears down on the Leland winds, dangerous threat to Florida right now. They're keeping an eye on Florida because it looks like Florida is in the line. I was looking at the video for that, and Florida, it's...
Stores announcing they're out of water, loads of people lining up to get supplies in stores. We also have long lines at gas stations, people lining up to get propane. Everyone
That's in North Miami now.
South Florida as they await the arrival of Hurricane Irma. And right now, Irma continues to strengthen in the Atlantic. This is an extremely powerful storm. Top sustained winds 185 miles per hour. That is one of the most powerful hurricanes in the Atlantic on record. It continues to turn closer here to the Leeward Islands, where they could be experiencing tropical storm force winds this afternoon and hurricane force winds tonight. We do have watches and warnings up along the islands, and we'll be monitoring this path as it works its way through the islands. We could be talking about very dangerous storm surge along with those catastrophic winds coming in here, heavy rainfall, then working its way very dangerously here over the Bahamas and Cuba, on its way toward Florida. Again, this is an extremely powerful hurricane, so we are talking here about winds of 175 to 185 as it hits the Leeward Islands, where we could see that catastrophic damage. There are states of emergency that are in play along its path. As far as what we are anticipating once it gets here closer to Florida, we are anticipating a turn, but still too early to tell exactly the timing of that and where it will be turning and what impacts it'll have. But certainly folks in Florida need to be preparing immediately.
Yep. So Florida is in line for that hurricane. Hurricane Irma nearing northern Leeward Islands, and there's warnings of the coast. Irma will target Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico tomorrow into early Thursday. Parts of Hispaniola and the Bahamas and Cuba are also in the path late this week. Irma is increasing, likely to target parts of Florida and the peninsula as dangerous hurricane this weekend. So if you're headed down to Miami, I'd say you're going to have to turn back. It doesn't look good. You might as well just dump that vacation or try to go somewhere else, because Hurricane Irma is headed down to the Florida southern coast as of this weekend. So, but I'm looking at that going, it's Category 5. But as you see it getting into the Florida coast, it goes down to a Category 4, although Category 4 isn't nothing to shake a stick at. But if you look at the storm at where it is now, it's Category 5. So, boy, oh boy, those guys are going to be in pretty bad shape, and then in the next 24 days it bears down. It's going to bear down on that coastline, and it does not look good. We'll take a look at some your Florida weather coming up just before we leave today on the Gary Russen program Extra. Hope you're enjoying the show. We're going to do this whenever there's big things going on in the news across America. We will have a Gary Russen program Extra. It's 83 degrees right now in Corpus Christi, Texas. 81 degrees in Los Angeles, California right now. As we do weather on the fives. I thought we'd just kind of jump in there early since we missed the weather on the fives in our last half hour. So, getting pretty close to about a minute and a half before we get to 55. So why don't we just do weather on the fives right now? So that's what we're doing, getting you the weather on the fives. Like I said before, Corpus Christi, Texas, you're at 83. 81 degrees in Los Angeles. 88 in Portland, Oregon. Coos Bay at 76 degrees. And I'm going to go into the Miami weather map right now. I'm going to go there. Let's see. Wait a minute. I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to, let's see, why am I not able to get in there? Okay, I'm going to refresh that page, see maybe perhaps I can get in there. I'm looking at Los Angeles. I think that's it. So why don't we do Los Angeles first, and then we'll go over to Miami. Los Angeles, California, you guys are 81 degrees right now. It feels like 84. Feels like 84. And looking at the map, you've got clear skies on your radar all the way through Pasadena. Long Beach, all your area, beautiful right now. Not anything to report on your radar at this time. Winds out of the west-southwest at 8 miles per hour. Relative humidity is at 59%. Your dew point 66. Your barometric pressure is 29.94 inches and dropping. So, looking good. Here's your weather forecast for Los Angeles. Sunny today, high 82, 0% chance of precipitation. But you have a 10% chance of precipitation tonight through Wednesday night. 69 degrees and clear tonight for Los Angeles. 85 tomorrow, sunny. 68 tonight, 68 tomorrow night, 10% chance of precipitation, and you're going to be sunshiny skies tomorrow in Los Angeles, a high of 83. But you guys are still battling that fire. And I'm looking at, I'm going to go down the page here, I'm looking at that, I'm going to take a look at that. I mean, you got wildfires in LA right now, so I'm wondering if some of that haze is going to make your sun kind of be hazy. Pretty much, I would think. And I'm going to keep an eye on that too for you, all that with that. But let's take a look at the conditions in Miami, Florida right now. We're going to do that. I'm going to take a look at the temperature right now, and then we're going to go ahead and see what the conditions are for Miami, Florida right now. It is cloudy, 88 degrees right now in Miami. 88 degrees right now in Miami. If you're listening to this podcast, and you're probably listening to this recorded, if you are just coming home from work, or I don't know if you pick us up on, if you're one of these new cars that have the in-car Wi-Fi, you might pick us up. But if you go home and listen on the podcast later, you'll hear some of this. 88 degrees right now, but it feels like 100 right now in Miami. Looking at your radar, just west of Fort Lauderdale, you have some heavy precipitation. Right there, heavy rains just over Interstate 75. You have some scattered heavy thunderstorms in that area. And as of 4:56 Eastern Time. So if you're in that area, beware of that. Heavy thunderstorms on your radar at this time. Let's take a look at your weather forecast and your barometric pressure and all that stuff. Okay, from Miami. Winds at east at 11 miles per hour right now. Relative humidity 71%. Okay, relative humidity 71%. And I'm going to take a look at your dew point. I went too far back and ended up back in Los Angeles. So I'm going to get Miami back here. Let me see if I can, there we go. Miami, again, winds at the east at 11 miles per hour. Your relative humidity 71%. Your dew point 77. Barometric pressure 29.92 inches of mercury and dropping. And like I said, you got low pressure going in there. You're headed at hurricane. And I'm looking at your weather forecast for the next few days. It's reflecting that hurricane. Right now, thunderstorms tonight, low 80. Tomorrow, Wednesday, partly sunny, high 88. Thunderstorms Wednesday night, 80, 40% chance. But it increases as the week goes on. Thursday, 50% chance, 89 for high, thunderstorms. Thursday night, 81, 60% chance of thunderstorms Thursday night. So that's probably the anticipated storm entry into the Florida coast in Miami. So if it hits landfall in Miami, it's going to get nasty for you guys. So well, again, take heed to your warnings, listen to your weather, and I hope that that hurricane is not as bad for you as it was for people in Texas, because that was just horrible. I don't know. It just we're praying for your safety. And we hope that maybe perhaps this storm won't be as bad as Texas, but they're saying Category 4, and it's headed to your, and it could get Category 5 by the time it gets into the Florida coast, because I think it crosses some water. So it could get pretty bad. Your sunset, 7:02, sunrise, 7:02, sunset, 7:35 p.m. Eastern. Scattered thunderstorms early. Mainly cloudy after midnight, low near 80, winds east to 10 miles to 15 miles per hour with a 40% chance of precipitation for you guys in Miami. So we're going to watch those winds. Looking at that radar, there's the eye of that hurricane. Hurricane Irma moving in, and let's hope that storm. Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, here in our neighboring state of Illinois, a lot of animals came in. It was really fabulous. Animals getting new homes that lived and were abandoned in Texas. Absolutely incredible. It's 4 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock East, 2 o'clock Pacific. This is GJRB online on Spreaker across America. I'm Gary J. Russen. This is the Gary Russen Program Extra, and this is our final part for today as we wrap up this program. We're just doing a last bit, and I thought we'll stay here until the end, and that'll be it for today. But this is our first extra show, and tomorrow I'm going to be recording the that other show. What's the other one? Tomorrow I'm recording the well, sometimes I just don't think it's Artist Showcase. Tomorrow I'm recording Artist Showcase. That's the show in which I interviewed Samuel Day, and that program is going to be uploaded as a podcast the third week of the month on the podcast weekend. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, and I will be promoting that more often. You're going to want to love to listen to this program. Samuel Day is a fabulous Christian artist, and I thank him once again for being part of the show. And making this the first one we do featuring new Christian artists. And thank you, Samuel, for being part of that show. And we got that upload. I'll be recording that, and it's going to be published the third week of the month, week 3 of September on Podcast Weekend here on GJRB Online at 8 p.m. Friday night, September 22nd. Right here on GJRB Online. 8 o'clock p.m. Central, 9 o'clock East, and 6 p.m. Pacific. So go over there and listen to that podcast. We have a fabulous artist from Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay. All right, this is the, we're winding down to about 27 minutes. So I thought what we're going to do partly is preview what we got coming up on the next Gary Russen program, which will be next Monday, September 11th. Commemorating and remembering the events of September 11th, 2001. We're going to do a lot of that. And we're going to talk about what's changed since then, and for the past 16 years, find out, what we've been doing differently since that attack. We're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to follow what's going on in the news, of course. We'll have our news and comment Monday. It's going to be a semi-freestyle show. We're going to open up the show like we always do, news and stuff. And of course, news and comments part of the show. I'm not doing news and comment. News and comments all throughout the show. That is all throughout the show because it's GJRB's news show. It's our show. It's a news show. It's the GJRB's original news talk program. And we do our. We're going to get back to the scanning our public site. We're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to our social media here, as a matter of fact. But late breaking news throughout the show, and of course scans throughout the show of all public sites on Spreaker, and all the public sites that we serve, all the public sites we go on. We'll do a scroll through social media, all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and read some of your opinions and see what's going on. We'll have a sports page. We'll talk about what's going on in sports. We're going to be anticipating the football season, which starts this weekend. So check that out. Matter of fact, a lot of stuff going on this weekend, but football season starts this weekend. So we're definitely going to get into that. And this weekend, Friday, we're back on the air Friday with our smooth jazz. But we will not be doing the Best of Jazz Saturday. I'm taking Saturday off. It's my granddaughter's birthday, so I'm going to take that day off. But I will be back later in the month with a Best of Jazz. I'm going to do a Best of Jazz probably about the last week of the month. Well, no, I'm going to postpone the Best of Jazz until possibly the beginning of October. We're just going to do it like we always do. So, actually, this month we're not going to have the Best of Jazz, but next month we will. Okay, next month is the Best of Jazz. Okay. Reason is because, like I said before, my granddaughter's birthday party, and so I've decided that we're not going to do the Best of Jazz this Saturday, but Best of Jazz will be back next month. Okay. And we're going to be doing some different things here. I'm going to be talking about that here briefly. Also coming up on the 11th, we're going to open up the lines. Later in the show, we'll have our 45 minutes of nonstop talk. And we're going to see if we can line up a guest for that show. I'm going to see if I can get somebody on with me. And we'll have some fun later in the show. So through Skype. And by the way, I am available on Skype. If you want to call me, Gary.Russen on Skype. That's the only way you're going to get a hold of me on the radio. I have closed down my cell phone. I am not going to be giving you my cell phone number on the air anymore. No one's ever called me on that line. No one's called the program through my cell phone. It just never worked. So I decided to close down my cell phone number on this show. We will not be using it again. I'm going to be going another avenue, planning on doing it differently, in that I'm going to just use Skype. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to invite people on the show by promoting my show on Skype. Okay, tell you what, we got a posting. Fox News Radio is on the air live now, and they're asking the question, do you fear the rise of machines? You have a guest on there by the name of Elon Musk. Does and is worried an advancement in artificial intelligence could lead to World War III. While they may be a bit dramatic, economics and government officials do worry that robots and self-driving cars will have a major impact on the job market and put a lot of humans out of work. And should we take this action now to curb these technologies? That's on the Tom Shullo Show going on right now. Joe DeVito joins the Tom Shullo Show, and if you want to, after we get off the air, that's Fox News Radio. You can listen to that. Okay. Oh yeah, my wife just posted Green Acres. Green Acres. And we got that. That's a classic show. And let's see. I'm gonna kind of scroll down. Question, do you support Joel Osteen? Joel Osteen breaks the silence to make a huge announcement. From Conservative World Daily. Don't know what that's exactly about, but he's going to make an announcement. I don't know what that is. And usually when I post these things, sometimes they end up being really just like nothing. But this is how it goes. After Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, the head pastor of Lakewood Church, Joel Osteen, has received much criticism regarding the way he was receiving flood victims. Lakewood Church is one of the largest non-denominational churches in America, and many wonder why Osteen didn't open his doors to seek refuge right away. Osteen finally opened the doors and took some overflow in. Multiple interviews. Blaze reports during Osteen's sermon he warned against victims' mentality and that God could pay back hurricane victims for what they had been taken from them. Encourages his audience to look forward and promised that they could handle the situation. Now Osteen said, we're going to understand everything that happens, but having a poor me mentality or look at what I lost or why this has happened just gonna pull you down. Of course, he's a motivational speaker. Osteen urged followers of Christ to turn around and added that God won't allow suffering unless he is a purpose for it. And we may not see it all the time, but that's what faith is all about, he said, quote unquote. Osteen addressed his critics. There's been much misinformation about the church this week, and I want to clarify some things. He said he's promised that the doors of the church will always have been open. He said that to reporters. The church erupted in uproarious cheers and applause, and obviously his support for his congregation, and the people will never be satisfied on how Osteen explains his actions. Well, again, don't see how that's just proportions, but all again, a motivational speaker of sorts that he is, well, that's what you're going to get from him. Alright, let's see what else is new. Let's see. Flies through the stories here. The White House briefing. Now, following President Trump's announcement on the ending of DACA, right now I don't know if that's a live feed. I don't know. It looks like it does not have live on the screen, but Sarah Huckabee Sanders is speaking right now.
Presenting the administration with two and only two real options to choose from: the likely sudden cancellation of the program by a judge, or an orderly wind down that preserves the rule of law and returns the question to the legislative branch where it belongs. The president chose the latter of the two options. The president made the best decision in light of the fact that the system set up by the Obama administration in clear violation of federal law. President Obama even admitted this himself when announcing the program, calling it a temporary stopgap measure and calling on Congress to act. DACA was initiated after Congress explicitly rejected the same proposal in legislative form.
That come from Obama. He is always good at violating laws. He still is.
Implemented a policy Congress had explicitly rejected. There's a misconception that DACA primarily serves as a shield from deportation. This is misleading. DACA grants work authorization to nearly 800,000 individuals who are not legally authorized to work. DACA recipients whose average age is in their 20s were not an enforcement priority before, and they certainly won't become a priority now. The priorities remain the same: criminals, security threats, and those who repeatedly violate our immigration laws. The main effect of today's announcement is that work permits and other government benefits are being gradually phased out. But rather than leave DACA recipients and the men and women of immigration enforcement in confusing limbo while the DACA program was challenged by states in the same court that struck down another of the previous administration's unlawful immigration orders earlier this year, President Obama is laying out a responsible 24-month phase-out. President Trump. No permits will be expiring for another 6 months, and permits will remain active for up to 2 full years. The president was elected partly on his promise to deliver meaningful immigration reform that puts the jobs, wages, and security of the American people first.
So you see, he is granting a reprieve. Okay, he is. It looks like he's going to, give him a little bit of reprieve. Sorry about that, squeaking, folks. He is granting some kind of reprieve there for the people, but I guess they're giving him 6 more years. So they're going to have to do something within the 6 years to either try to stay in the country and avoid deportation by maybe at least trying to see if they could become, or at least try to work on becoming American citizens. I think that would be the best thing to do. in a situation like this for them is to become American citizens. It would be they would be more better off to become American citizens than to continue to live off the land, so to speak, and become moochers on the American people. So what, this is just to say that they've been here for quite a long time, and I understand that situation, but when you're looking at the fact that they're staying here on us, and right now there are protesters screaming about this. This is at a hotel in which they're screaming protesters about DACA and speaking in Spanish at a D.C. hotel. Listen to this. So you see the protesting is already starting. So you see, it's already starting. The protesting have already started over there, and it could. I don't know. Is this going to escalate into something more? They're screaming obscenities in Spanish, so they does support the argument of DACA recipients, and they want to embrace the American dream. Nothing wrong with that, but like I said before, come on, why don't you just work on becoming American citizens instead of trying to, take that free ride? Because that's exactly what you're doing. Tell you what else we got coming up if you stay with me on our Gary Russen program Extra. We're going to talk about our next show. Got a lot of stuff coming up on our next show. We'll be on the air live on Monday, September 11th. And like I said, it's going to be a preview show of, I'm going to talk about the past 16 years since the attack on America and how it's either been worse or better. And we'll also talk about what's going on in the news, live, local, and late breaking, let's try this again, live and late breaking news across America on the Gary Russen program next week here on GJRB Online. We'll be back on the air on Friday with Smooth Jazz and Smooth Afternoon, starting at 12 o'clock noon Central. All your favorite smooth jazz, classic jazz, some of the best jazz that you hear on our radio show. I hope you enjoy that. Smooth Jazz. Live, 12 o'clock noon Central. And, of course, 2 o'clock we'll be on live with news and weather and jazz. And then I'll be taking the day off of the weekend, taking the whole weekend off. Be back on the air Monday, September 11th. For the Gary Russen program here on GJRB Online, here on Spreaker, across America, around the world, wherever you may be listening. Hope you're enjoying the show. Coming up on and then on the 15th. Now I was just telling you about this, and I said it to work because I really think that I want this show on more often because I take a break from news. We take a break from all the stuff going on, all the disasters going on, and kind of just have some fun and reminisce about the past. And coming up, Crooners, 12 o'clock noon Central on, tentatively on the 15th, September 15th. These are all tentative schedules, all subject to change and can change. GGRB has a right to change programming at the last minute. But on the 15th, we'll be on the air live, 12 o'clock noon Central for Crooners. Right after Crooners, it is Gary J's Radio, Television, and Movie Classics. And we're going to have this show on regularly. And we're going to have it on the second week of the month. We're going to rotate this show with other shows that are on, but this is going to be a show that's always on the second week of the month, because I had this show as an alternative week, and I like this show, and I like to do this trivia show more often, so I decided to put it where it could be heard more often, and that is the second week, or the second Friday of the month. We'll do trivia, classic radio and television on Gary J's Radio, Television, and Movie Classics. We'll be on live that day, 2 o'clock Central. Got some more really fun stuff that I'm going to play for you, and I hope you'll tune in for that broadcast. I got some good trivia questions, some hard ones even, so you're going to want to tune into this broadcast. It's going to be live on GJRB Online, and we're going to be bringing that to you on Friday the 15th. Friday, September 15th, tentatively on GJRB Online. Remember, all programs are subject to change. It can change without notice, and a lot of programs I do kind of announce the time shifts in programs on a thing I call the GJRB Schedule Update Podcast. GJRB reserves the right to change programming and schedule times at the last minute. And give me some different program changes here on GJRB Online as it goes on. Probably next year is going to be some different programming here on GJRB Online, and more Gary Russen programs, but there's going to be other programs on here as well. So look for that. Okay. All right, tell you what we're going to be doing. We're winding down to a close on this show, and I want to thank everyone for listening this afternoon. I try to make it the best and most interesting show. This is just an extra. That's what it is. It's an extra. That means that this program will air whenever there hasn't been a Gary Russen program on the air for as much as 2 to 3 weeks. And that is ahead of another Gary Russen program a week later. And we preview that Gary Russen program and give you a chance to make plans to tune in or make plans to listen to the podcast. And I did have one listener in the first part of the show, but they disappeared, unfortunately. And normally, this is pretty much normal for this show. I'm doing more outreach, but it's taken time. I'm working on different things to make it more interesting. To get maybe people to call in. I have more plans. Like I said before, I'm thinking about rounding up a guest for September 11th. For like the 3:30 time mark. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking about if I can get a guest in. I'm going to work on either Rachel Ozzie Jarvis, or I'm going to see if I can get a hold of my friends in Pittsburgh, specifically either Stephen Mucha, or we haven't had Ben Osan on in a while. I'm going to get a hold of him and see if he'd like to be on for a show next week. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, we'll probably just be freestyle all the way, and it'll probably be a lot of fun. We'll just have a lot of fun. That's going to be kind of a light show that day, September 11th. That's also my sister Debbie's birthday, so we'll wish her happy birthday on the air and give some of the celebrities that she's celebrating her birthday with. So that'll be kind of fun. You might want to listen to that, Debbie. I hope maybe you could, because I don't even know if she really cares about this show. But that's fine too. Well, we'll see what happens. This is the first extra show. And like I said, if things start getting interesting in the news, and we don't have another Gary Russen program after September 11th, because I don't know when I got my next one planned, we'll do another extra. Okay, we'll do another extra. And we'll plan on another Gary Russen program a week after that. Usually, like I said before, we kind of shift the programs around. And like I said, all programs are subject to change and can change without notice. And the new rule, of course, as I told you before, is that we don't do a Gary Russen program. We don't do a Gary Russen program unless I have it together. And I don't promote any more programs on this station. As I said before, we promote the programs that are going to be on in September, but we don't give you the exact time or date. Just some. Like we just did a while back. Just a little while ago. We do some, but we don't do all of them. And the rule is that we don't promote programs until 24 to 48 hours before the air date, the projected air date. So if something were to come up that I have to cancel, I will have to cancel because, quite frankly, we didn't promote it. But some of these shows I mentioned will now go into the what I call the broadcast bank. If they get canceled, they go in the broadcast bank. And then what I do is I reschedule them for another time and date. So that's how I do that. So that you can be aware of when we're going to do another show. Okay? And I do, like I said, if there's nothing going on, I do try to get the programs on the air at their scheduled time slots. I always try to do that. Just be aware of that. This marks the end of the first Gary Russen program extra. I want to thank everyone for listening. All programs are, and I want to thank you. This show has been produced by me, Gary J. Russen. All sound bites courtesy of Facebook and Fox News. And I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to the Gary Russen program extra. We'll be back next week for the Gary Russen program on September 11th. I will be here on Friday for Smooth Jazz. Until then, have yourself a great evening ever. Thank you for listening. We'll see you for another edition of the Gary Russen program September 11th. Have a great evening, everybody. Economic collapse, wars, pest, Israel. When they say peace, then cometh sudden destruction, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, end-time headlines at www.endtimeheadlines.org. Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radio Land. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between. Like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radio Land. Strange things in the sky and around the world. Strange beings sighted. What's going on? All around us, conspiracy theories are being discussed. This is the show all about the strange things that are way out there. I'm Gary Russen. This Way Out There's back with more weird stories of the strange and the bizarre. Keep looking up in the sky and let me know what you see. Way out there. Every third Friday at 2 o'clock Central on GJRB. Programs scheduled on GJRB Online are subject to change and can change. If they do,
Watch for GJRB Schedule Update podcast on my Spreaker public site for time and date change announcement.
This is GJR Broadcasting.